Maddox. People used to say that to me in school.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Nicholas P. Ugero, and today I have the pleasure and honor of having Daniel Shane Maddox on my channel today. How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. I appreciate you coming on such short notice.
Yeah.
And so for people that aren't aware of who you are, and to be honest, I'm still trying to learn a little bit about you. So if you just want to give a nice detailed introduction of yourself and what you're all about.
Sure. Well, first of all, the reason that we're on this call is because we met when we were both in the chat room for Mark Passio's show. And this is all about the truth movement for me. And so that's what I've been invested in for most of my life. As I was saying on Mark's show, I've been in the truth movement since 2001, in which I was telling people, 9/11 is obviously an inside job. This is a joke. This is not real. And obviously that totally set me apart and made me a loner by default. Couldn't really be a part of the system, couldn't be a part of the same social groups, the same people. It just wasn't it wasn't in the cards for me. So I became a public speaker, a writer, a podcaster, an independent researcher, and teacher of universal mechanics, as I sometimes call it, or natural law, as Mark calls it. And I've been doing various different things. I think I started my first YouTube channel back in 2003, and it was deleted through whatever means. And but that was just like a silly thing that I did. And then I started another one after that, and each one I was just exposing things that I saw happening in my own special way, because I've always been very theatrical and able to put the proper emotion behind what I'm saying, because people can say things, believe things all they want, but they don't have the proper emotion. They don't have the proper, this is really happening type of situation going on. They're like, oh no, they're very timid in a lot of times. And I think that is a big problem with the world, is that people don't really have the proper motivation and the proper emotions for what they're actually experiencing. They don't have the capacity, or it's been bred out of them for whatever reason. And I spotlight this in any way I can. So I've grown up between Germany and here in California. My mom's German, so I've had an experience of two very different cultures, and one of which, I like to tell people, Germany never, they never really recovered from Hitler. The mindset is still very much in the collective. The mindset is still much in the totalitarian sense. And if you talk to anybody who's lived in Germany for any amount of time, you can see what I mean. It's still there. And so that's why I make such a big deal out of knowing your history. Because if you don't know your history, you're going to help repeat it. It's not just going to magically repeat itself out of nowhere. You are going to help repeat it because of your ignorance, willful ignorance. And that's the key point, because we have a magical device in our hand that can tell us anything we want. But we choose to look at cat videos and to hate on people online instead of looking at the deep information. So that's just a little bit about my background at the moment. Yeah.
And I appreciate, thank you for explaining all that. It really means a lot, because it's crazy to think that you how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 35.
35. Okay. Wow. So yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
That was when you woke up.
I mean, not when I woke up.
Becoming more like realizing what's kind of happening. Yeah.
Yes. Because my father was a total loner, and he hated the government with a passion. And he always told me, the government is just a legalized theft, son. This is all bullshit. And it only keeps going because people are addicted to money. Money is the thing that opens all doors, and the government controls the printing of money, or the people that control the government control the printing of money. And so I never trusted the government. And therefore, when 2001 happened and I saw all this stuff happening and all of our rights being taken away, and then I was like, this isn't right. And it's funny. People are like, oh, I can't wait for COVID to end and our rights to come back. And it's like, I'm still waiting for our rights to come back from 9/11. I'm still waiting for, be able to go to an airport and just walk straight through security with nobody sticking their hand down your pants, and TSA agents just feeling you up, and everything else that's been happening, and things that have become normalized. And this is the point that people really need to understand, is that with the masks and with all these the forced isolation, stay 6 feet away, the human torus field is exactly 6 feet away from you. The
Yeah,
scientists
I've
know
heard that.
this. They know what makes the body tick, and that's the main thing that my work is about, really, is explaining to people how our enemies are master psychologists. The enemies of humanity are master psychologists who simply see the human biology as a mechanism, a machine. And if they give the right stimulus, they'll get the right response back that'll give them more power and whatever they want. And they don't really have the ability to care. It's broken in them, either from birth because their family is all psychopaths and they were all interbred, the royal families and stuff, or just because they have never nurtured the ability to care throughout their whole life. So their gene expression for care is non-existent. And the same thing has happened to all of humanity right now, a forced limiting of people's ability to care, truly care, because they'll say, wear a mask, get a shot because you care about people, but that's not the case. What's really happening is wear a mask, take a shot because we're telling you to, and we want you to get used to the idea that the state owns your body, owns your actions, owns your property. They've already got that in, with the taxation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's called the totalitarian tiptoe, and they just upping the ante, upping the ante, upping the ante. And if ever there is a true pushback, whoa, that's too much, then the government goes, oh yeah, we didn't mean it. We were just testing the waters. And then just slowly again, it just ramps back up again. And because good people, good quote unquote good people, are loath to actually do the work required to keep civilization in a state of freedom, because it's consistent work. Freedom isn't free. It takes consistent, appropriate response at all times. When something evil is happening, everybody in the room needs to be able to respond to that. Instead of everybody in the room being Xanaxed out or blissed out of their mind and meditating 8 hours a day, or whatever it is that they do that is somehow limiting their ability to do what is appropriate.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say when you after your introduction, you mentioned people having their cell phone, that one device that's in their hand that can tell them everything they want to know if they have uh, they're curious enough to actually look into that. And that goes right in line with what you just said right now to end that little portion that you were speaking of, because it's yeah, why are people thinking this way? Why are people acting this way? What is it that's going on within them, with whether it's being so toxic or just being under such stress, or like me being a porn addict and being a sex addict, being a video game addict, and then getting so much dopamine that you're the pathways in your frontal lobe aren't even functioning properly. You have brain fog all the time. You can't even make rational decisions because you can't even determine the actual consequences of the actions that you're taking. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, even for me, on a personal experience level, I know what it's like to not have a brain that's functioning right, and you're doing fucked up decisions that aren't helping you out at all. And
Yes.
it's and like these people, like with the testosterone, like men's testosterone is just freaking ridiculously low. Even mine, because I was masturbating all the time. My testes are creating testosterone. I couldn't even put the two and two together at all until I started not doing that. And within 7 days, my strength like doubled. Like I felt like I had way more energy. My brain was working better. I could see like a difference in my eyes. Like just that. And you know how much they normalize porn? Like just that alone with adolescent boys is already, that's so destructive. That
Yes.
alone. But then we have the nutrition, and we have the food, we have the water, we have the air, we have like the chemicals that they use to wash their hands and wash their hair and brush their
Yeah,
teeth. And
there's the estrogen mimickers in the water that are totally obliterating the male body and turning them into transgender people. It's like it's crossing the line, and they know how to do. Like I said, they know exactly which buttons to push to get the outcome what they want, which is a weak, emasculated group of people who will not stand up for what's right, and they will do whatever the state says. And they're doing a masterful job. All you have to do is look around, and you see all these people in here. I made a meme about it today, and it was like men in the 1940s, literally like these hulking colossuses, and they got a big old dick that's blacked out, obviously. And then it's like the 1980s, the 2000s, the 2010, and they just become women in all 4 slides. And it's not a joke. that's not to say that real men or strong men aren't being born. It's just with the massive amounts of poisons that they're adding in the water and the food and the air and in the mind through television, which is basically just a black mirror. A black mirror, in case you didn't know from the show, is a scrying mirror. It is that's what they mean. The black mirror is your cell phone. So with this device that they can summon your actions as they wish. That's what a scrying mirror is. They basically channel into another realm and they receive back what that entity on the other side, which is the New World Order and all their scientists, what they want from that. So watching
Wow, like the
porn,
farming data.
yes, farming data, but not just data, they're creating response. So if you watch
Yeah.
television for any amount of time, your brain goes into open receiving mode. And there's so much going on television. Uh, there's a lot of people online. I'm skipping on the name right now, but there's people who break down Hollywood films, Hollywood music, and they show this is what they're saying all this time, all this with these tones. These tones make you more open to these frequencies. And if you listen to it enough, you're literally being transformed into what they want you to become. So be very careful where you put your attention and what you allow into your mind. Your mind is a sacred temple, just like your body is. So the food, like you're saying, very important. Food, water, air, all these things, the things that you normally think of as natural are the things that we need to be moving towards instead of away from and just jumping into the matrix, like with this meta bullshit with the multiverse and all this stupid shit with the, Lord Z over there, Zuckerberg and all his people. It's just, and they've already proven instantly that kids immediately are having a hugely detrimental effect by going into these worlds. They're going and they're groping women, they're doing heinous acts, and people are experiencing this in real time. They're having trauma all instantly already as soon as they go into this metaverse. So we have to be very careful about technology. It's always been a dual-edged sword, and pretending that it's not is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and coming as someone that was a video game addict, just I can't even imagine the amount of dopamine that a kid's gonna get from that. Already, me when I was doing my multiplayer gaming or whatever other gaming, it's constant input, so much dopamine. Brand new thing. I'd buy a video game and then a couple days later I'd be like, oh, I gotta get a new one or whatever. Like that's just normal TV video gaming. Not putting some screen right next to your eyeballs and looking around and basically everything that you see around you is that.
And then using
being
drugs.
young and then
Using drugs to go into the virtual reality, which is the next step. They'll start introducing drugs intravenously into your body through the headset, and then you'll literally be having a psychedelic experience where that virtual reality is now more important, more real than anything that you experience in the real world.
okay.
And all kids everywhere will want to have nothing to do with the real world because that shit is fucking insane. And you were talking about people turning books into or video games into these stories of what's happening in real life, and that they've done it. And there's like what was the anime called Sword Art Online, and it's exactly what we're talking about. It's this company that creates a headset that fully immerses you in the video game world. You feel it, you smell it, you hear it. It's realer than real, right? And then this crazy guy who created the game traps all the people in the game the first day, and if you try to leave the game, the headset will kill you. So the people are stuck in the game. They have to beat the game, otherwise they die in real life. And this is something that can very easily happen. And in fact, it is the storyline of one of my books in the series that I'm writing.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because when you mentioned, I want to bring up this comment really quick, just because I know it's been sitting here a little bit. Sorry about that. Lindsay Mueller. So cool, how you guys met. Community is essential, and yeah, that's one of the solutions I would say, and not just any community, but one that's very much in the conscious direction and trying to do the right thing, understanding that we do fundamentally have the same exact rights, and no one has more rights than anyone else, and you just don't steal and then just at least have that as a foundation. I think that most people on the planet would agree that murder, assault, rape, theft, trespassing, coercion, and lying, all are forms of stealing. There's a reason why steal is in the middle, because every single one of them is forms of stealing. So the lower ones are trespassing, coercion, and lying, and then you got assault, rape, assault, and murder. And so it's just varying degrees of stealing. So
But
it's
the greater your awareness, exactly, it's all just theft. Every wrong that you can possibly imagine all boils down to theft. Because why would it be wrong? Who can it be wrong to if you're not actually taking anything from someone else? You know what I mean? So as long it's called the apophatic reasoning system. It's where you know what to do because you know what not to do. And as long as that's the case, then hey, I'm not stealing from anybody, so I can keep doing exactly this for as long as I want. Anybody can just come up and say, well, you can't do that. Why? Well, because the government says you can't. Oh, and then you just cross this state line, and then all of a sudden it's totally fine. And you ask that same person, they're like, yeah, it's totally right because it's a different state. In this state, it's okay to burn women at the stake. Yeah, yeah, totally fine. In the next state, oh no, that's forbidden. That's bad. That's wrong. It's they have they don't have objective morality, and therefore they think that it's all relative. And it's the most dangerous type of thinking that you can have because in an instant, something that can be wrong in one place is right in another. And if you have that kind of worldview, someone can just lead you around any way they want. And it's a very dangerous position, not only for you, but especially everybody else, because we live in a collective. We live in an aggregate world where all of our decisions compile in the aggregate. So if enough people choose right, the world is heaven. If enough people choose, bad, then the world is hell. And we're getting closer and closer to a hell because more and more people are choosing the wrong.
yeah, and I know like Mark Passio, that's the person I learned this from, and he really stood out to me when I first heard him on Anarchast a few years ago. And I was like, this guy's talking about stuff that no one else is talking about. I want to see what he means. So I watched Demystifying the Occult, and I was like, holy shit, look at all the stuff that's in here. I didn't
That's
know the
heavy.
difference between sorcery and magician and or sorcerer and magician and mysticism versus esoteric or exoteric. Like, what is this? So like, it was super interesting to me, but the things that I'm applying in my life don't require any belief because I've applied it in my own life and I've seen the results. And then I just think about it with just common sense. The aggregate of society, what they believe in and what they're most importantly doing is impacting what happens later on.
Yes.
There's no, I can't see any way of escaping that because it just makes so much sense. And I've applied it in my life. Like you were saying, like people might say, oh, that's a wrong. You can't do that. Well, why? Because of these rules or the government said so. Okay. But then over there you can't. So perfect example. When I was working at Aldi, trash was, or food was being wasted at such a large amount I couldn't take anymore. I was dumpster diving. I never purposely broke anything. So knowing that I can get it later, I literally just saved stuff that they were throwing out. And I would compost it or give it away to a church or someone else, or I would eat it. And I told people for weeks that were like supervisors, they were saying, you can't do that. They agreed with me. They knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. And they told me that, but they still said I shouldn't be doing that. And whatever else. I'm like, well, tell the supervisor or the manager. I don't care. I know I'm not doing anything wrong. I got called into the office weeks later, whatever. They ended up firing me, but I stood my ground while they were talking to me. And I said that I'm not doing anything wrong. Legality doesn't equal morality, yada, yada, yada. I got fired. I told them I would have quit anyway. She's just good at following the rules. I don't want to work for somebody like that. I had no job lined up. I was doing this dumpster diving for months and months. Like basically the whole time I was working there for about 6 months. And and then that same day, like I had no job lined up. Like the same day I text my brother, hey, we used to work together. And then so I asked him if that job still is hiring or if they're hiring. Yes, they are hiring. Went from $13 to $19, getting paid full time instead of just part time. Have a consistent schedule instead of bouncing around all the time every single day. And then how am I getting rewarded like this in such a drastic fashion? And why did I feel so confident in myself that day? Like I had no worries. I felt
And even
so
even if you
like
weren't instantly rewarded for your right action, even if that was the case and you suffered, it still would have been worth it. And this is the thing. And
it's not a
people are
cartoon.
people are afraid to sacrifice what they think they have for unknown benefits. You tell people this is wrong and you should quit, then the first thing that they think is, well, I don't have anything else. So what that and that's the fear mentality. It's the limited consciousness mentality. And this is one of the reasons how they have everybody by the balls is that they know that people are trained to think money equals everything. Without money, you have nothing, you are no one. They've done a really good job with this with Hollywood, and the glorification of the ownership of the possession of things has become such a religion that it has prevented people from actually living a life. Because I know many people who own more money than God. Like they never need to work again. All their children are set for life, and they're just the unhappy people. They're working just because they don't know any better. They don't have anything else. And it's a sickness that just poisons the soul so slowly and over time. And then at the end of it, you have all this money, but you can't take any of it with you. And your soul's just so tired, and the people around you are all fake because they just want the money that you're getting for them. And like all the real people, they were all dancing naked and swimming in the river and in the moonlight, and really living life, while you were in your corporate executive job, driving around in your Lexus and fucking just, popping Xanax like Tic Tacs. So it's very important that people find out what truly nurtures them, not just on an energetic level or the bodily level or the soul level, but what nurtures the sense of themselves. And when you worship money, when you worship mammon, when you worship the system of Babylon, the sense of self is gone. You only care about the moment that you're in, or what you can get in the future. And I did this for a long time. For a long time, like, I was in an amazing situation. I was with good people, having fun, doing drugs, whatever. And I didn't care about that. That was okay. But my mind was like, okay, what's the next adventure? And the next acquisition, and the next this and the next that. And so how can you ever be happy if you're never really here in the now? You can't.
Very good point. Yeah, and that's the only time we have fundamentally is at this exact moment, and I've noticed it when I go from using my eyes and feeling like my energy is literally right here, and then where I totally feel a difference when I start having rapid thoughts or daydreaming or whatever, and it's just right up here. I can just feel the difference mentally, and when I try to focus, then I feel the shift, and yeah, it's for me, it's almost a constant observance of that back and forth for the
Mhm.
most part. I know when I'm just like not there in the moment. I try to take a breath and chill out and yes, kind of settle in but it's definitely it's hard. And especially nowadays with all the trauma that's going on. I was definitely traumatized during this whole ordeal in July of this past year, from until December. Sometimes I was thinking suicidally, and I was just gaming to cope with trauma that I had dealt with. And I wasn't creating any content, so I didn't feel like I really had a purpose. I was working, but hey, it's whatever. It's not like it fulfills me, so that didn't help me really. But yeah, having a strong mental constitution is one of the probably the best asset that you can have prep wise, because you can have all the prepping tools and items you want, but if something goes down, and then that's when you lose your mind because you don't know how to deal with it mentally. Well, then what good is all this stuff? Because you're just going to go crazy, or you're not going to do the right thing because you're going to make a rash decision because you're so fearful. So
Yes.
I think people definitely strengthening themselves mentally is very important. And I know we're already at the almost 24-minute mark. Holy crap. I wanted to at least get into your book also, but just really quick before that, I wanted to just ask you what are some people that have inspired you? Because as you stated earlier, 2001 was when you kind of became more aware of what was going on in the world and how kind of big it really was. Who are some people in that journey until now have really inspired you?
Sure. Well, my father, number one, because he was anti-authoritarian. I remember one time when I was really young, we were in Mexico, and we were going through, because we drive down there a bunch and go fishing and stuff like that. And the cops pulled us over and they said, you broke the law. You're coming with, give us the money or we're going to send you to jail. And they took his driver's license. And my dad's like, I didn't break the law. Fuck you. And they said, you don't understand. You're not getting this back. We'll take you to jail. And he said, fuck you. And my dad drove off away from the federales. Right. And I'm like 7. And I'm seeing my dad in a foreign country saying fuck you to people with assault rifles and just driving off. Two of their squad cars came around us and fucking pulled right in front of us, their guns drawn. And they said, fuck you, puto Americano, just threw his card in his face. And my dad's like, yeah, have a nice day, pal. And so that is my experience of what it looks like to say, fuck you, authority. You're a lie. And he had definitely not broken the law. They just wanted money. They were corrupt, and they thought my dad was just another one of those people that would say, take the money out of fear, take it, take. And he said no, and he stood up like a real man, like a real woman, and he said, not today. Not today, motherfucker. And so, and they didn't know how to deal with it. Or maybe they did. Maybe they respected him for that. And then they drove away, you know, and maybe they had a good story about it later. But my dad was definitely one of the main people in my life that I really took a lot of inspiration from. Besides him, or later from him, I guess, in the early, like 2006, 2007-ish times, I started getting into Alex Jones, and that was a huge rabbit hole too, you know, because I had read, I'm a reader and I'm a writer, so I read a lot of books, and I start hearing a lot of different stories. A lot of different authors talk about the New World Order in different ways through allegorical means, and they talk about how the system really works. Although they're using fantasy stories, or they're using all these different things, they're explaining to you exactly how things really are. And when you, this is why I love novels and many movies and stuff like that, because people's shields are up if you tell them this is how reality really is. Well, they're like, no, no, no. But if you give it to them in an allegory, like Lord of the Rings or something like that, which is super deep, or even The Matrix, or any of these great epics, then people are like, oh wow, oh my God, wait a minute, that reminds me of this. Because they're not going ahead and just telling you this is how it is. They're putting it in a different way so that your shields aren't up. And Alex Jones did a lot of that for me, but I was turned away by his constant anger and fear. It wasn't even anger, it was fear. It seemed like he was always in fear, and so I turned away from that because I wanted a different inspiration, and that led me to Michael Tessarion, which was just, when I got into Michael Tessarion, which if you haven't heard of him, whoa, I mean, when you get into his alien visitation and genetic manipulation series, just be prepared to be just boosh, you know. And
Yeah, I actually have his Origins and Oracles, his entire series on my BitChute channel.
there
So
you go.
if
There
anyone's
you go.
interested, I actually have that there.
Do
Like
it.
I got it from the Arc Drive, so from Mark Passio. So
Yes. Did you get the second arc, or do you have the first?
I am actually in the process, coincidentally, that I just purchased a 3 terabyte just so I have extra space when I fill it up. So
Right.
'cause you don't want to have it jam packed all the way because it's not really good for the drive. So I'm just gonna have a
That's
nice
true.
little buffer.
That's
So
true.
I'm actually it's on its way right now, and then from there I'm just gonna pack it up, do everything I gotta do, ship it over there. Nice little currency donation or something like that, and yeah, voila.
Absolutely. So
I
check
didn't
that
mean it.
out.
I didn't mean to interrupt you though. You were talking about
No,
Michael
no.
Bavarian.
Absolutely. Go to Nicholas's page and check it out, or go anywhere else. Go to Michael Tessarion's webpage, Unslaved, and check out his stuff, because he's been continuously going, you know, and he's top tier. Like him, David Icke, Mark Passio, and a few others. They're just beyond the pale. You know, they've dedicated their lives to this, and the information is solid. So that led me eventually to get to Mark Passio after I got into Michael Tessarion's work, and that's when things really started to pick up. Because, as I said in the interview with Mark a couple days ago, I needed his anger. It wasn't fear. It was never fear. Never seen Mark afraid, but I've definitely seen him angry as all hell. Right? And that's what I really needed, because the fear was making me afraid, and not in a good way, not in a constructive way. But the anger was like, all right, this is real. We got to actually do something about this. All right. So we're going to fucking do this now. And that's what allowed me to really say, okay, I've been wanting to write this book for so long. It's time to actually just do it. Okay. And so those are the main inspirations that really got me to where I am today.
Perfect segue. Okay, now we're getting into your book. Let's do it. All right. So, all right, what's the name of the book? What's it about? General kind of overlying story, and then also if you just want to get into the kind of the nuts and bolts of being inspired to do it, and then just the process. What's the process like? What can people expect if they're curious about maybe writing a little short story or a little novel or something to your extent where it's going to be a series?
Sure. So the book is called the first book and the series is called Resonance Born, Born from Resonance. And it all stems from a short story that I wrote when I was in the Amazon in 2013 when I was doing ayahuasca for a month straight, one day on, one day off. And we told the guys, listen, we want books. We want something to do while we're waiting, And they're like, yeah, we'll get you books. We'll get you books. A week went by, still no books. And I was just like really not having it. And my friend who was with me, he's like, well, why don't you just write your own book? And I said, you know what? I will. And so I was just on my phone, my little iPhone, and I was like literally typing out, yep, there's my website. I was writing the story. And this story eventually became Resonance Born. It's the core essence of this book. And so it's about, in its essence, what happens when you make a right or a wrong decision over the span of the universe. Now, before you get all too crazy and say, well, that's just way too much, I can't handle that. Well, it's okay. The first book takes place in 2020 during the pandemic, and it follows a group of young people who develop a disease, and it's not COVID. It's a disease that is actually something related to something that they did long, long ago in the ancient past. So the main story is you can't escape what you've done. You did something, you did a wrong or right action. There will be consequences to this. You will have to address it either in this lifetime or another. And so be very careful what you're doing with your decisions, because it's not a joke. It's not foo-foo. It's not whim-wham, It's a real present thing in the universe. And as soon as you start aligning yourself to reality, to what is, then the universe is like, hey, that person is paying attention now. That person understands it. Let's give them energy. Let's reveal things to them that allows for greater expression of their path, their dharma. And so I go through a lot of the New World Order, the Anunnaki, the Anunnaki story of creation with Nibiru and the Sumerian texts. It's close to Zachariah Sitchin's work in that regard. And I go through the mental slavery that we're all under and how it has affected us throughout all the ages. And of course, I can't truly know how things went, but I do a lot of speculation, but it's the best guess that I have on how humanity has been created and come through all of history. So if you're at all interested in deep history, philosophy, esoteric knowledge, the occult knowledge, and a lot of the stuff that Mark talks about, or any of these people who talk about the deeper truths, the deeper reality that is just beneath the thin veneer of the illusion that the government and society at large weaves every chance that they get, because they need to. They need people to believe the lie, because without the lie, their power just evaporates completely. And so that book that I started writing in 2013 became the model for it. But in just in the beginning of 2020 is when I fully decided to dedicate my time to writing this book. So I've been writing it almost every day for 2 years. And for a long time there, I was writing at least 2,000 words a day. So right now I have 500,000 words and 1,000 pages for the whole series. So the first book is only about 300,000 or so words, but it's growing. It's about 500 pages. It's the bulk of it because that's what I focused on. Because as soon as I started writing one part of the story, I followed Stephen King's whole philosophy where you don't even think about it, you just write. And so this is if you want to become a writer, listen to King. This is the truth. You just write. Doesn't matter if you end up deleting everything that you wrote for the last week, you just write. Because to be good at anything, you have to continuously put effort into it, and writing is no different, and it's especially so. Read and write, read and write. You want to become a baseball player? You play baseball, you watch baseball. It's like no matter what it is, okay? So This is going to pose some problems though, because you have to have huge organizational skills to be able to do something like this. My folder list is literally like just so many different lists, different ideas, and so you have to be good at that. At least in some way, you have to have some way of writing down or recording your ideas. So just have a camcorder. I do that a lot. I'll be at the beach and I'm like, oh, and this is what's going to happen with this character. And then I may never even listen to it again, but I put it down. And so it's saved. And so this brought me into creating a website. Because I had created so many different works. I did hand mandalas. I've done all these different forms of art in my life. And my mom was like, son, you have so much work. You need to have it in one place where somebody can go look at it. And I said, okay. So I created a Wix page, Wix.com. I created the website. I put all the things that I wanted in that website in the page, but I couldn't get the design right. It didn't work for me. So I had a designer work on it. And luckily, I had done all the work. I got all the content in there. So the designer was able to do this. The hardest thing for any web designer is to extract your content out of you. They keep saying, I need your content. I need your content. You're like, yeah. And then that's why people pay so much fucking money for web designers, because they're basically using their web designer as a shrink and as a co-editor and as a co-design and all this stuff. So my suggestion is you do what I did. You create a Wix, a free web page. You get all the things that you want on it there. And then if it still doesn't look the way you want it to look, you pay someone to organize it the way you want it to. That'll be the easiest, fastest, cheapest way for you to create a website the way you want it, with everything that you want in it. And other than that, my book, I'm going to try to get it out in March, but I mean, I said that it was going to be out in January of this year. I'm still pushing it back because I still need to get a good editor on it. And I haven't even looked into publishing and all that. That's back to your question, how I want it to get out. First of all, it's going to be available as a gift for a voluntary donation. So there will be no commerce. There is nothing for sale here. If you want to donate to my work, to what I'm doing in life, a voluntary donation, either through crypto or either through fiat currency, whatever it is, whatever you decide. If you want to send me a pumpkin worth a certain amount, we'll talk about it. But the point is, I am doing this because it's passion for me, because this book represents the truth in an allegorical form. And because I no longer am willing to support the behemoth beast system that says openly now, you belong to us. What you've created belongs to us. Your very bodies belong to us. And if you disagree, we're going to throw you in a cage and throw away the key. Okay. Long before they said that openly, I knew that this is where it was going. And so I said, fuck that. I'm not your slave. And I'm not going to support a system that literally sends fucking soldiers all over the world to bomb brown people in the name of freedom and everything else that they're doing, and fucking police around here and military who are completely ignoring their oath to defend the Constitution, defend human rights. They're taking a paycheck now. Okay. And so they have completely forfeited their right to say that they're honorable or that they're doing anything good. So that's how my book will be available, as a gift through a voluntary donation. And you can do that through my website. It'll be available both in digital form and in a hard copy.
Awesome. Are you selling it on Amazon?
No. I do not use Amazon. I stopped using Amazon years ago, and people still don't understand, like, well, how do you get anything? It's like, there's literally so many websites out there that sell things way better and faster. Amazon said that it'll be there in 2 days. Usually it's 3 or 4. And I don't support systems that don't support human life. They want to destroy human life. So why would I support that? It's no different than the government. And again, Google and Facebook censor 97% of the internet. Think about that. That means that if you use Google or Facebook, which 80% of the people on earth do for their news, for their information, you are only getting 3% of all available information on the internet. And believe me, that is the worst 3%. It is not the cream of the crop. It is not the true essence of what the internet is supposed to represent. And that's why I'm getting interested in Web 3.0 and to totally decentralize things like that, which I think you may have talked about with your previous guest about cryptocurrencies, because we need to move away in every way that we can from this beast system. And this is my contribution towards that effort.
Wow, it's excellent. I really appreciate that detailed explanation of the book and everything like that and how you're publishing it. It's all fantastic information. I really appreciate it because I know that at least somebody that watches this is going to be at least inspired or have more of an understanding, get a little tips and tricks, organizational skills. Boom, perfect. I really appreciate that. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. I'm definitely enjoying it. I can't believe it's already been 40 minutes.
Yeah, me too.
So and then you went right into the other question. How was it created? Your website. So that was excellent. Thank you for that. Tips and tricks. So what I want to talk about now is just obviously we mentioned briefly, or not briefly, but right in the beginning, we started talking about the brain and people's toxicity and just the mindset and some of that stuff, trauma. And so for just people that haven't really even started this kind of journey of delving into information or just just really quick, I want to bring up Enzo. Thank you, Enzo, for coming back on again. I appreciate it, man. When you mentioned a couple minutes ago when you were talking about they, I forgot exactly what part it was. I didn't want to stop you because you were talking, but I know who he's. I remember you did say they when you were explaining something. I can't remember exactly, but
Is he talking about who they is the New World Order, who these people
yeah,
are?
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's what he meant. That's what he means.
I've explained this in my TikTok and a few other places. They, the New World Order, is just anyone who takes on the mindset of Satanism. Anybody who takes on the mindset of my will is the highest good. Anything that I want is the highest. And if it hurts anybody else, I don't care. This is the mindset that they have spread like a virus to people. And so long as people have this mindset, they will never truly come together. They will never truly want to do the right thing because all they care about is them and theirs. Not even theirs, just themselves. And so at the baseline, anybody who has that mentality is a foot soldier for the New World Order. And that means you listening, if you have that mentality, okay? So people like to blame the Jews or the Jesuits, the Catholics, everyone in the book, but they don't want to blame the person in the mirror. It's like, look at yourself in the mirror and tell me that you're not responsible for, at least in part, for what's going on in the world. And if you can say that honestly and you're not lying, then you don't even need to be in this conversation right now. You're an angel, you're a saint, okay? But far more than likely you're not one of those people. You're actually lying to yourselves and you are supporting the system of human slavery. And that's a very easy thing to do because the system is built to make us do that. But at the core, who is they? I think they is the fallen gods. So the alien beings who came here long ago and created the human race about 500,000 years ago is what my guess is. They created us as a slave race because they were stuck here. They needed people to be able to build their civilization, to be able to survive here, and they didn't have enough people. So there was a highly advanced group of hominoids, ape people here, who were extremely spiritual, who, if you would have seen, imagine a silverback gorilla shaman. That's what we were. Okay. Like a shaman in Peru today, but it's a silverback gorilla, that kind of strength and that kind of physique, but they're eating mushrooms, just like Terence McKenna said, and they're expanding their consciousness and they're so, just in tune with nature. And an alien species came here and said, we need a workforce. We need people. We need something to be able to help us complete our mission here, because otherwise we're all going to die and our world is going to die. And I go into this in my book, and that's going to push a lot of people away. Oh, he's crazy. He's talking about aliens. And I really don't care what you think about that, because that's where my research has led, because I've studied almost every ancient civilization and they all talk about the sky people. They all talk about being created by these beings and then left here. Like thousands of examples. And are all of them on crack? Are all these ancient people lying? Or are they telling you straight up how it was? And what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the people in the Egyptologist that says that the pyramids were built by slaves using fucking
Pulleys.
pulleys and fucking
That makes a lot of sense, Daniel. Cut them some
yeah,
slack. You know, they're trying to be as
yeah,
accurate as possible with history.
yes.
Okay, so for people that you're pushing away right now that are about to shut off this video, what would be some of the key points or key research topics for people to look into to come to a similar type of conclusion that you have come to in terms of origins and
Well, like we said with Michael Tessarian, the Oracles and Origins series, you can look at the ancient Egypt, magical Egypt, or something like that. I forget the
Atlantis,
name.
you mean?
What was it?
Atlantis?
No, it wasn't Atlantis. It was something else. It was like Mystical Egypt or something. It was a series, and look at Graham Hancock's work. Graham Hancock, and there's a lot of different people that basically, bare minimum, it eviscerates the mainline historical narrative about humanity, that we are only 10,000 years old and that we sprung up from nothing, and it obliterates that concept. So regardless, like let's say that we did come from apes, or if you're extremely religious, Christian, that we were brought here by God instantly, just created. Even if that's the case, the historical narrative of us being only 10,000 years old, actually, if you're really super Christian, you only believe we're 6,000 years old. But you need to start breaking away from your belief system that limits the human narrative, that limits our story in where we've come from, what we've been through. And it'll be a really fun thing to do because there's so much evidence for this out there. And like, if you like little quirky things, then you can go to Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. They divulge all this information as well. And just look it up. Look, type into Google, or no, don't go to Google. Go to DuckDuckGo and say aliens created humans, proof, or anything like that. And there's Michael Tessarian's work right there. And you'll find things that get you there. Is there a lot of bullshit, and is there a lot of misinformation? Sure, of course. There's always going to be stuff like that. And that's why I always tell people that you're going to have to sift through a lot of bullshit before you really get to the core issue. But if you want gold, 90% gold, get an arc drive from Mark Passio. Go to whatonearthishappening.com and look up the arc drive. You just send it to him and he'll send it back to you fully loaded with all the information that you need. And he gave a disclosure a few days ago in his talk saying, it's not all 100% accurate. It's not all 100% truth, because some of the videos, some of the information shows you this is the lie that they're selling, and this is how they're selling it, and it doesn't necessarily tell you exactly that that's what it's doing. So you need to be able to discern that for yourself. You need to be able to find that out for yourself, which is what this is all about. Do not believe a single thing that I'm saying or what Nicholas is saying. You take what we're saying and you say, okay, I jive with this, not this, whatever. But you have to discover this on your own. You can't ever. It's like healing, for instance. There's no such thing as someone that heals someone else. You do all your own healing. The only thing anybody else does is that they point a mirror back at you in such a way that it helps facilitate your own healing faster. Okay. Or maybe they show you the door. It's like in the Matrix, Morpheus is telling Neo, I can only show you the door. I can't walk through it for you. You have to do this. Okay. So if you come to a completely different, conclusion, that's fine. But what I'm most interested in is that you start using your noodle for something else than your 401k or for whatever else, what other bullshit nonsense that you believe is worthy of you as an unlimited being, as a spiritual being having a physical experience in a meat suit for a very limited amount of time. And I implore people, please do not waste your time. Your time is your only true currency. Okay. You spend time, right? Because that is your true currency. And if you're not spending it correctly, you're paying for some bad things to happen.
Yeah, it's funny because I was about to bring that up, the paying attention, spending your time. So it's great. Kind of linked up in that way. Um, Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And definitely resonating with me. And yeah, just don't take our word for it. It's good to look at an eclectic source of information. And for me, like when I was looking at that alien page, there was only a couple links that were there. So yeah, I got that one article. I got to click on these other links, see if it even leads to anything of value. If it doesn't, then okay, well, that's not a good link at all. And sift through it, and like, okay, this wasn't even that good of an article.
Right.
And but that's time, and that's something that still need to keep doing and work on and make the time for. Like, is it how important is it to me? To where am I going to set aside the time, or am I not going to? Like, and that's the thing with a lot of things, like just my organizational skills at home and being consistent and getting things done around the house. Do I care enough about it to do it all the time? Apparently not.
Yeah.
Like, just from my actions, I can look back and I have to be realistic about it. It's been a blessing, but mostly a curse throughout my life. But it's become a blessing now of being unable to lie to myself and tell myself, "Oh no, you did a good job there." No, I didn't do a good job there. And so I've been always really consistent on that end. And when I cheated on my first girlfriend, she dumped me, whatever. I was the bad guy, and I knew I was the bad guy, and I felt terrible about it. And because I knew I was the bad guy, and I knew she didn't care about me at all, I cared about her still. I just was in a depression, and I had no mental tools in my toolbox. Nobody taught me as a kid. School didn't teach me when I was growing up. My parents didn't teach me how I was growing up, how to deal with bad situations like this, how to deal with trauma. So I was running blind, and I basically didn't even grow up from 16 to 23. I was doing the same thing, crying every day for 3.5 years. And then the other 3.5 years were still bad, but at least I wasn't crying every day. But it was still not good whatsoever. And for me, we just gotta be realistic about things that are going on. Like, long story short, we just gotta be a lot more honest. Look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what am I really doing? What do I truly find fulfilling? What things am I helping continue? Is it anything that's good or anything or something that's bad? What systems am I supporting?
Right.
Like, it just we gotta just be honest with ourselves and not just I don't even know. I don't know how people do it. Just because
It's hard to be honest with yourself when you have no experience with it. When everything that you've learned in life is that lying is how you survive,
fake it till
what
you
you
make it.
what use is there in even being honest or even looking into it? And I think this is the key point here is that people need to discover the ways in which their mind has been tooled, it's been calibrated to live a lie, to accept lies as truth, to accept that which isn't true and to deny that which is true. This is one of the greatest sicknesses in the world because so long as that this is the case, people will think that they are living in the right reality. It is the allegory of the Matrix. They think it's real. They think that what they see on the television is actually how people are. If every television and cell phone in the world died right now, and no one knew what anybody else was doing, COVID would be gone. There'd still be people getting sick, but the hysteria, the madness, because the media is pushing an illusion. Okay. Not to say that the virus isn't real, not to say that people aren't getting sick. I got COVID twice and lost my sense of smell and all this, but it still was like one of the low percentile. I've been so sick that I was sure I was going to die the next morning when I was in India. It was coming out of every end, and I was sure this is it. I'm going to die tomorrow. Right. COVID was like 1/20th of that for me, and it happened because it was like it's 4th of July and I was just sucking down sodas. I normally never drink soda, but I had just recently quit alcohol and I needed something in my hands to be able to cope with all the drunk people around me. So I picked up like 6 Sprites in one night and the next day I had COVID. And it's like because my immune system just crashed because of all that sugar. And if you think that the amount of sugar that you're taking in isn't affecting you extremely negatively, you need to think again. You need to go watch that film, that sugar film, which is a documentary about a guy who basically starts just eating sugar and how quickly his just health flatlines. And the doctors are like, you need to stop this now. You're going to die. And he's like, no, you know, I said I was going to do it. And he ended up having to stop because it was flatlining him. And I'm not saying eating pure sugar, although he did that. He just started eating things that have high amounts of sugar. And so we need to step away from the television. The television is as David Icke says, the television is the most dangerous device in your house. It's the most dangerous weapon that you can own. And that's why I stopped watching television really in like the early 2000s. Like we just got rid of our TV, right? And so whenever I went over to my friend's house and I watched television, I saw like every 10 minutes there was a pharmaceutical commercial about getting your dick hard or whatever else it was, or about stopping heart palpitations, and then the side effects were all 10 times worse than whatever benefit that this drug may had. And I was like, what? This is what people put inside their brains all the time, that literally pharmaceuticals are the only way to exist, to have a happy, normal life. That is what they're saying now. And that's what this whole COVID nonsense is truly all about. It's like, without this shot, you cannot exist. Without this passport, you're not allowed to go out of your home. You're not allowed to do anything that you once did. Your freedoms are now privileges. Without this, if you accept the vaccine passport, you are exchanging your rights for privileges that the government can revoke at any time. This isn't actually true because your rights can never be given away. The government does not grant you rights. The government only is supposed to protect your rights in certain aspects, but it has not done this, if ever. Okay. It has not, and it has done the exact opposite for the longest time now. The government is the enemy of all people. And people want to say, oh my God, how could you say that? And I say, well, you're one of the people, if you believe that, then you're one of the people that say that animals can't exist unless they're in a zoo. Unless they're totally coddled and protected behind closed bars, that tiger cannot exist. That is the mentality that you really have if you think that humans can't exist without government, because it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. And so, shattering the illusion is going to be a real tough process. I'm not going to lie to you. It took me 20 years to really fully get it, and I really started really getting it once I listened to Mark Passio, because going from episode 1 all the way to 240, whatever we're at now, was such a huge, like every time I was just like, oh shit, dude. Oh man, this is where we're really at. This is what's really going on here. And, because I knew it was bad before, but that was the next level.
Yeah, because it just goes so much deeper than the normal kind of viewpoint that most people have. It seems a little bit more simple when you're not looking down into this whole depth of information that's just not stuff that people are privy to. And yeah, same thing with me. It wasn't until I think 2017 or 2018 when I first found out about him. I didn't start becoming more aware until 2016. So 15 years leg up on me. It's crazy to even think about, because even 2016, that was almost six. It was basically almost 6 years ago that I watched the Zeitgeist documentaries, and that's
Yep.
what kind of got me started. But
Loose change.
yeah, I think I've seen that once. Yeah, I haven't watched all of Jason Burmis's documentaries, but yeah, I know that we're basically at the hour mark. Enzo had a quick question. Thank you, Enzo, for the question. Does Daniel believe there is immortal people living among us, or aliens, or people from the future?
Immortal people. Well, I've thought about this, and I can see that the Anunnaki would have left some kind of cryostasis or some kind of preservation technology that they had on their ships, which they could have preserved and kept them here. But 500,000 years is a long ass time. That doesn't mean that they would have brought more ships or something like that and have them hidden away somewhere. I can definitely see that. Can I see the full question again?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, aliens definitely. We are aliens. We're part aliens. That's my belief from my viewpoint. People from the future, that's a stretch. I don't see that as the case. If they are from the future and there's any kind of time police, then they would not be allowed to interact with us in any way. Otherwise, it could destroy reality completely. If I understand the physics correctly, that's what would happen, because it would be creating a grandfather paradox, like when you record your screen and then you see the recording and it just goes deeper and deeper, level by level by level, and it would like bend space and distort all of reality. So that would be a very bad thing. And
Like
just like
that.
that, just like that. And no, who's to say that that's not exactly what's happening anyways? But
Oh,
what is most important, people, is not to get lost in the craziness or all the different rabbit holes. All, as I said on my TikTok, all different conspiracies, really all the big ones, boil down to one thing: government is slavery. You're a slave. You're a slave. The Kennedy assassination, the moon landing being fake, if you believe that, or flat Earth, if you believe that. Oh, you believe the Earth is flat? What does that mean? Every single government is lying to you. They all need to be abolished. Oh, but Danny, every single person needs to believe the Earth is flat for this to work. No, if you believe the Earth is flat, then you literally can never pay taxes again. You can never support the government in any way, because you know that all of them are lying to you. Now, how many flat earthers are really willing to do that? Almost none of them, because they don't really see the connection. They don't understand what their belief really entails. And I in no way subscribe to the flat earth. That's a psyop to me. But it's just an example. And then there's the fake moon landing. Oh, they lied about it. Okay, government can't be trusted in any way. Gone with the government. Kennedy, gone with the government. Glyphosate, chemtrails in the air, whatever conspiracy, government is the problem. Again, you're an anarchist now. You must withdraw your consent from the system that is enslaving you. And yeah, dude, without government, there would be madness out there. See, this is what I'm saying. Humans need laws. Yeah, they do need laws. Natural laws, God's law, the universe's law. I don't care what name you give it. Okay. And I'm not religious in any way. No masters, no slaves. If you understand the way the universe really works, do unto others as will be done unto you. So, okay, so that's a law. You hurt people, you're going to be hurt back. If you understand that law, you won't hurt people. But people think they need a gun to their head in order not to hurt people. And if you think that, then you're sick. There's something deeply broken inside of you if you think that. And it's unacceptable. And am I saying that if government disappeared right now, that we'd all become angels and that we wouldn't need to work together? No, that's not the case at all. There would be massive suffering, because people have become coddled and they've become so used to being slaves that it's like Mark makes this example all the time. There's slaves on the plantation, and one of the slaves over there is getting beaten to death. And these two slaves are just there and, doing their work, not being beaten. And the other guy, one of the slaves, is just really angry that this slave is being beaten. And the other slave is like, I don't understand why you're so angry. What is the problem here? Or it's like in Django Unchained, when with Samuel L. Jackson's character, the house slave, he is enforcing the slavery of all the other slaves there because he gets to command them. He gets the perks. He's still a slave, but he doesn't get beaten. He gets command authority over the other slaves, even though he's still a slave himself. And this is the system that perpetuates the system. The system of believing in authority, the system of believing that in any way, a small group of people can come together and say, okay, we own you now. Yeah, and if you don't do what we say, we're gonna put you in a cage. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna steal everything you own. How did humanity get here? Well, this goes back to what we're talking about with the aliens. Like an alien system of governance was brought here that's completely contrary to anything that makes any sense. Oh, we worship gold now? Why? Gold is like one of the hardest things to mine. It's one of the hardest things to get, and it has absolutely no value. You can't wear it. You can't eat it. You can't. It's shiny. And that's what all these people are killing each other over for now? No, it's an alien system that was perpetuated by an alien force. And they brought in governance. They brought in the whole idea of money. They brought in the whole idea of a super class system that is devoid of any kind of, reason or basis. Like primates have hierarchies for sure. There's the one dominant male and then the other ones are submissive and all that. But it makes sense. There has to be one leader and then they all work together. And it's not that one totally rules over the other without any say so. They all work together collaboratively, and one calls the shots because they're the dominant one and they have the strength and the prowess and the skill to be able to accomplish it. But then as our brains evolved and things became more and more complicated, we didn't really need that, because regardless if you had the physical strength, if you had the brains, you could rule the pack or you could rule an organization. So things changed in that way. But the beast system came in there and said, no, you're now going to sell out your neighbors and your family for this worthless material called gold, which only had any real physical value once we had electronics in the 20th century. So once you start to unpack the whole ideology of civilization in general and the things that it runs off of, and you back up the layers and see why and how and when these things came into place. And the answer is, out of nowhere, overnight, Egypt just sprung up like a flower. like a mushroom, just whoop, fully formed civilization, roads, language, mathematics, astronomy, everything that you can possibly imagine overnight. Really? Really? That's what you think? So, yeah, the whole notion that government is necessary. I'm sorry, you just believe that slavery is necessary for humans to be happy and healthy and to grow. And there's something broken in you, bro.
Yeah. So Enzo said, yeah, without government to be madness, we need laws. Lindsay said that's false. I used to have that mindset too. And Enzo, unfortunately, that's a reality. We are too much of monkeys yet to govern our emotions. Laws and organization, parentheses, the state is the safety net, darling.
So, yeah, again, they're saying that because people are imperfect, we need to be ruled over by people who are also imperfect. You see the schism here? You're going to give, because people are evil, you're saying we need to give certain people unlimited power who are themselves also evil. You are begging to become a permanent slave, if not dead in the ground, buried 6 feet, if you're lucky. If you're not turned to ashes, like the Jews were and the people in Nazi Germany. It's going to be a hard road for you waking up from this. It's going to be a real, real hard road, you have my sympathies if you decide to go down this road. And no, you have my respect if you decide to go down the road of breaking free of your attachment to human slavery. But if you're going to be one of those people that says, I'm gonna go along to get along and stay in the government's, grip, I'm sorry, man. That's the wrong choice. You made the wrong choice.
Yeah, it's hard to once because the truth is very very simple. The way that it's been kind of laid out to me, and the way and Enzo, when you said it earlier, I appreciate the interactions, Enzo. Seriously, a lot of your comments are legit, and I appreciate it. So when we were talking about natural, like the uh, objective morality, natural law, consequentialism, all that stuff, can we put to the test all this interesting stuff about the scientific method? Yes, exactly. Perfectly said, or perfectly asked, because I will ask the same thing. Can we put it to the test? And yes, we can, but in our own personal lives. And that at first, like hopefully, if enough people kind of have this mindset of, hey, I'm not going to steal from people, and I'm not going to support things that have conditioned me to believe that this isn't stealing, but then it is stealing. So I'm going to try to not support these things, maybe lessen the amount of harm I'm causing or contributing to. And we can see that. I've seen it in my own personal life. Sometimes it takes months for something to for a big kind of event to play out and to finalize. And I can look at it and say, okay, this is what caused this to happen. This 20 hindsight's 2020. I realized how I got to the point where I was such a sex addict and a porn addict. I could look back at my childhood. I can look back at the things I was exposed to. I can see the patterns, so and what was I doing? Was I stealing from Target or Kmart, or was I doing this or this? Or like, I know when I was doing wrong things. And sometimes if you also need to have the intuition at times to really maybe pinpoint certain things, but apply it in your life. Enzo, I mentioned this on Sunday when you asked about it, and I listed off the 7 wrongdoings, and just try your best to avoid them. Try your best to support those types of things, and don't have a stopwatch. It's not a cartoon where it's going to just happen magically or right away. Sometimes it does in little instances, but yeah, like with the Aldi thing, and you pointed that out, sometimes it doesn't happen like that where it's right away, like the same day. So sometimes it might take months. And like, if you were to leave a job where they're doing terrible things, or you don't agree with what they're doing, or the way they're going, and you quit, yeah, for a time you're gonna maybe try to have to find a job really quick, or all that stuff, and it's gonna be a little harder of a road for a few months, but get back on your feet. Another door opens, as one door closes. So we can put it into effect, or we can do the scientific method right now. So
Right.
that's
And
that would be
another
my
way,
answer too.
another way to do it is like this. Okay, you want to know if something's right or wrong, besides the fact that if it steals for anybody, which is a mindfuck for most people, like, okay, you're yelling all night in your house, and is that wrong? Well, you kept up like 3 different people, the neighbors, right? And they couldn't sleep. You stole from them. Now, was there a reason? Did you tell them, listen, man, I'm going to be screaming all night, I'm making a video? Did you let that be known to them, and then you get an agreement from them? And then, okay, yeah, you can scream all you want because you have an agreement with them. Oh, I can't scream in my own house. Well, you can, but is that going to, negatively affect people? Then no, then you shouldn't be doing that. And then also, like, is it wrong? Well, what if everybody does it? Oh, you're stealing from Target. Oh, it's a massive corporation. Nobody cares. If everybody that walks into Target just grabs what they want and walks out, Target will no longer exist, and there will no longer be a place for people to go get things. Okay, and so, well, if just a few people steal, like the people in government, like the people who own government, then it's okay because the little people aren't stealing, and then we're getting away from it, and then it's just another system of hierarchy and slavery. Then it's like rules for me but not for thee, or rules for thee and not for me. And so that's what I want to close with, really, is that the best thing to do is to back up, take a deep breath, and see, what am I doing that is really actually stealing from people? Do I support these mandates that say that your body's no longer your own? That the government can tell you what goes in and out of your body? Do I support that? Is that stealing from somebody? Do people own their bodies? Just little questions like that. And then once you really start to get honest feedback from your inner self, instead of getting it all from the news or from your peer groups or whatever, and because this is the thing, people don't really have a sense of self. They whatever their sense of self is, it's so shallow and weak and not true to who and what they really are, because they've become such limited beings that are just designed as corporate toggles. You're a corporate cog, just playing the role that was made for you. The school system is the prison system. They get you with the bells and the whistles, and they tell you when to sit up and when you can go to the bathroom and when you can do this and when you can do that. And if you don't listen, then you're going to get punished. And school basically teaches people that competition, that you're in competition with all these people. These people are not your friends. These people are your enemies. And if you've ever been to a public school, you know exactly what I'm talking about. None of those people, unless you're like in one of those religious schools where, not even in the religious sense, but like in like a cult, like if you're in a college town where it's a really big football team and everybody's like, yeah, go Broncos, or whatever the fuck it is, then they feel a sense of unity because they're in another cult. But they don't ever really have a sense of unity in what they're doing to uplift the human spirit, to uplift themselves. It's all just like, no, we're here to be able to get a degree, which will supposedly be able to give us the means to succeed in the world, in a world of competition against others, not in working together, not in cooperation, competition. And it's like, oh yeah, well, free market capitalism is the best thing in the world. Yeah, it is. It's never been practiced. Never, not once. If it has, it was in small little isolated things where people just do cash or barter or something like that. But for the longest time, America is not a capitalist system. It's a robber baron system where they own all the levers of power and finance and the flow of money and materials, and all the little people just work in the machines until they get eaten up by them. And I didn't see what that last question was. I was busy. We are sovereign human beings. Authority is BS. Look at history. Time and time again, government has always given us a reason not to trust them. Absolutely, Lindsay. Spot on. Spot on. That's what it is, and just be honest with yourselves and look into it. Trust me, you'll find out the truth. But as the Buddha said, there's only two mistakes one can make on the road to truth: not starting and not going all the way. And once you truly start and you see the absolute necessity for the truth to get out there, you have to go all the way. You have to go to the end. And this is the whole Jesus thing, Jesus had to sacrifice himself because he knew that people just weren't going to get the message unless somebody died, and I'm not saying that Jesus was even a historical figure. I'm saying the whole thing about being a Messiah, being somebody who knows the truth and speaks the truth, and because everybody lives the lie, they have to kill that person because they're exposing the lie that they're all living their lives on. And that is a very dangerous and threatening thing. If you tell somebody, listen, everything that you ever done or believed in, it's bullshit, it's a lie, and you're hurting people, they're going to want to kill you. They're not going to believe you, one. And two, they're going to say, this person's a threat to everything that I know. And even if they are telling the truth, I'd rather die. So the best thing to do is to kill them. And that's why most most messiahs are all murdered because they are the greatest threat to civilization, to society, I should say, to culture, which is all, like I say, an extension of the beast system.
Yeah, and like Lindsay was saying, we are sovereign human beings. Authority is BS. That's the truth. Like we are authority in man is not existent. It's if you voluntarily say, "Hey, we're gonna," like you were saying with like the packs and all that stuff. They had the alpha or whatever, but they were still cooperating. They were still as a team communicating. It wasn't where he had more rights than them. He was just the one kind of directing them and leading them.
Yeah.
And it was a voluntary type of thing, or sometimes out of necessity for survival, yada yada. But it's that principle of just you can't do something that I don't have the right to do. Like just on the simple measure of taxation, on the most simplistic level, they are claiming ownership over my labor. And how much of a percent does it have to be for it to be considered slavery? Is it just
Anything above
1%?
zero.
Anything
Anything
above
above
zero.
zero.
That's what I would say. But most people have to think about that. And they don't, some people don't even disagree that it is slavery because I say it that way and I describe it that way and they agree. But their actions don't follow and their emotions don't follow with what they just agreed with. So they're in imbalance. They're inconsistent.
That's the schism.
Yeah,
The schism.
they're inconsistent with themselves. And so yeah, it's just I think what we're talking about is literally just don't steal from people. We're not advocating violence whatsoever.
No.
We're not advocating for anyone to violate anyone else or cause violence. So what would be some of your kind of, besides the book, which I think is which is an excellent avenue for this, but ways that we can reach more people. So I also wanted to kind of delve a little bit into just the other content that you create outside of just the books and maybe the TikTok videos. Because I know we're running at an hour 16. I'm not sure how long you have, but I just wanted to get a couple of these points out. See,
Yeah, let's just finish
brainstorm a
these
little bit.
points and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Well, to reach people, you have to find some sort of community and find the people that you know are doing good. Whatever, whoever that is, the people that are growing the garden, that the people that are going on nature walks, the people that are helping people just because, not because they're going to get anything out of it. Find those people and, find your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So if your vibe is, I'm a free being, I want to live free, I want to live healthy, I want to be out in nature, you're going to very quickly find these people because that's where they are. Yeah, anybody who truly wants those things and holds those dear to their heart, they're out on the hike. They're out on the trail. I see them all the time. I go hiking every week. And I'm always meeting these people who, we go up there and we're just talking on the mountain and just like, oh yeah, this another bullshit round from the government, another psyop, another total lie. And we're just being honest and we're up on the mountain. There's no cell phones. There's nobody watching. We're just being honest. So hiking is a great way that I could say that you can meet people. Just being out on the beach. I go to the beach a lot and just swimming and being free. Just be free. If you want to find people that are like-minded, just be more free. Allow yourself, give yourself that permission. Go to the store without a mask. I make posts about this a lot. The local store has 7 different signs that says you need a mask. And I go in there and the thing that I say is, universe, I want this to be a beautiful experience. I want this to work out really well. And I say that every time I go into the farmer's market or any place, wherever they say that you need a mask, not at the farmer's market, but any of the stores, right? And I'm going in there and it's literally like I'm a secret agent. Everybody's wearing masks but me, right? But nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. It's almost like I'm invisible, right? But they're all smiling and they're almost being overly friendly to me. And it's either because A, they know it's bullshit and they love the fact that I'm in there. They love the fact that someone doesn't succumb to the bullshit, or maybe they think I have some kind of exemption or whatever, but I just don't care. I don't allow that to affect me. I live my life according to what is. And so long as I do that, I feel so safe and empowered. And but it gets tricky because I can get super negative and angry. And whenever that happens, then people will be like, you need to get out of here because they can sense the energy. But if I'm coming from a total place of love, it's like their shields are just, they're off and I can just walk right past them. And it's like, Jesus walking on water. It doesn't faze me, man. And then your question about the other places that they can reach me, you can reach me on my TikTok, which is Empowered Youths, with an S, or then my Instagram, which is sunlaw_D. So SUNLAW_D. It's all on my website at danielshanemaddox.com. My Instagram is mostly just memes, and some of my videos. I've been on the meme game so heavy. It's kind of crazy. And although I do bash Democrats and stuff, that is not because I support the Republicans or any government. It's just that the Democrats are so far off the radar, so batshit crazy insane that it just, you have to, yeah, there you go. You know, exactly. That's it.
I
That's
saw this.
where we're
I
at.
think I saw this one yesterday. I was cracking up. I love it. The
Yeah.
mouse is so like they're so happy up there.
Yeah.
Coexistence voluntarily.
And that's exactly what the situation is going to be. And it's just people, if you visit my sites and stuff like that, you're going to see a lot of that. My TikTok is basically all just me screaming and yelling, and there's a lot of good, there's uplifting videos too. I'd say that's probably 50-50 of uploading really high quality inspirational videos, and then there's just me ranting and because I need a place to vent, because obviously I have a chip on my shoulder from the situation because people's ignorance, willful ignorance, and
You're getting
so
that many plays on your videos?
my highest video was like 61,000, and then they cut it
What?
out. And it was literally
I gotta get
government
on TikTok, man.
government is slavery, and it was like doing so well, and then they cut it, and so it is. I was actually surprised at how well my TikTok was doing, because my friend told me to get on it, and he's like, "You need to get on this right away." And I was like, "TikTok, that's owned by the Chinese. Like, I don't want to do that shit." And he's like, "No, no, just listen, just try it." And then I was really surprised, because the engagement level on TikTok is well and beyond anything that I ever experienced on Facebook or on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere else. There's just a lot more young people, and that's who I want to reach, because if we don't reach
Yeah.
young people, it's going to be really bad, brother. The young people, if they don't hear this message and if they don't get it through their heads, they're going to be the Gestapo. They're going to come around us up and go door to door and tear us out of their house. We're all going to be Anne Franked. If we
Yeah.
can't get the young to see the fact that government is slavery, then they're coming for us. They're going to be the ones that take us down, and we can't let that happen. We have to show them what is really going on. And I've seen a lot of young people that are really with it, and that's good thing for me to hear, because a lot of times I can get down on the youth and be like, man, they're so fucking lost. They're just running into the hands of the New World Order. And in fact, these kids that are being masked up 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, they are going to be catapulted into the gaping maw of the New World Order, because they're being told that they're an enemy. They can't get sick, they can't die, but they can kill everyone else. And so they're the most afraid for others. They're the most like timid and oh my God. And they're the ones that are going to be just doing whatever the state says. And they're going to be voiceless. They're going to be afraid. They're going to be weak, but physically strong, maybe, and strong enough to hold a gun or to tear you out of your house or whatever like that. So it's very important that we get to the youth. And that's why I created my TikTok.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And if you just want to give a couple more bullet points of maybe some things, brainstorming, like because you have your book, which is one avenue of reaching people, and providing truth. Well, and TikTok, I didn't even realize how great this kind of message is doing on TikTok. I gotta definitely get on that.
Yeah, you do.
Holy hell.
Yeah, you do.
So what else would you like? Because you're doing some videos. What else do you think would be some good
Any
ways of
place
kind of spreading this kind of message?
any place where you're not censored, go there. Go there, and like YouTube, you're going to be censored. Facebook, you're going to be I'm so censored on Instagram, it's retarded. It's just they don't want the message getting out, because it hurts them. It hurts their pocketbook, it hurts their power play. And so even TikTok is less so that way, and that's why I like it. But if you really want to be uncensored, you're going to have to go way out, like to Odyssey or to these other platforms, which you're literally just, you can't be censored. It's just they won't do it unless you're literally calling for the death of individuals or something like that. You won't be censored. And so any place that you feel that you get in and that you have any kind of talent, You know, you don't need much. If you have a smartphone, you just make a few second clips where you say your piece and you send that to everybody you know and say, how was this? You know, did you like that? Do you make it fun? Make it serious or whatever like that? Because, like I was saying, any little form of success can really empower you. And like that's what happened with my TikTok. Like I had 0 followers, 0, but I was getting 500 views on my videos because TikTok sends these videos to everybody, right? The algorithm actually works for TikTok at the moment. I'm not saying that's how it's going to be for the long term, but at the moment, that's where we're at. And just speak the truth. If you know the truth, speak it. You're obligated to, because if you don't, then the lies will take over, and they're going to create very bad things in this world. So that's the primary thing. Speak the truth. Any chance you get, somebody says something, whatever, any interaction, and I've seen it. Truth is infectious, way more infectious than COVID. But if you can really tell people the truth and they can feel it, and then if they have any sense for the truth themselves, then they're going to spread it to someone else because they were emboldened by you saying something. You know, people aren't used to, that's why we're in the mess that we're in, because people just let bullshit slide. They let the lie become the reality in their minds. And then the hell comes forth.
Yes. Yeah, I'll definitely end it on that. I definitely agree with basically everything you're saying. And it's we got to just have that different perspective and really just contemplate and yeah, just and like you were saying, some of the things that you were mentioning on ways to reach people and just what to do to speak the truth. You can be doing it at the store, like you're saying, walking into a store without a mask on. That's already standing up in some
Yes.
form. Yes, you're giving fiat currency to a store that's also being taxed, and you're being taxed at the same time. And yeah, okay, but you're still making a dent in it. And we also got to think about gardening and becoming more self sufficient. And I'd love to possibly have you back on another time and we can talk about
Yeah,
more
yeah.
solutions and really kind of delve into this because it's yeah, it just needs to be talked about in some form.
It does.
So yeah,
And
I
I'd be
just
happy to come on in a few months again, you know. Right now I'm just concentrating full bore on my book. I'm working on it 6 hours a day. You know, this is what I'm living for right now, this book. And I can't wait to have it in my own hands, you know. So everybody's asking when they get it. You know, I wish I knew. I'm projecting March. No promises, but that's what I'm shooting for. And even if I don't make that goal, I'll have gotten so much closer to it because I made a goal. You know, it's like if you think you're gonna leap to the moon in one step, I'm sorry, man, you're not. You need to do all the necessary small steps in small bites. You know, this huge meal, this buffet that you want to accomplish, that you want to get in your stomach, one bite at a time, one step at a time, and you will be able to do it. You know, so that's the message. Start, just start, and then the rest will follow.
yeah.
Thank you for having me on, brother.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you for that closing statement. It was very inspirational. And yeah, it's something I got to start doing. More organization, more goals. Write it down. I was just thinking about that 2 hours ago. So that's obviously a coincidence only.
No such thing, brother.
Yeah,
No
I
such
know.
thing.
Enzo, Lindsay, Angela, thank you guys so much for watching, participating. Anyone else that's watching right now or someone that's going to watch in the future, thank you so much. Really means a lot to me. I'm definitely going to be getting on TikTok. Thank you for that recommendation. I didn't realize that people were getting so much traction on there with that sort of message. So I can't wait for that. Thanks so much for taking the time and coming on here on such short notice. It really means a lot
Yeah,
to me. It's been
sure.
awesome. I'm very happy about this interview, and it's I wish the best of luck with your book. Just keep consistent, like you're saying, and I'm totally gonna get it when it comes out. So just I hope to stay in contact with you. Just keep me updated on what's going on, and
Thank you,
yeah,
brother.
I wish the best of luck, man.
You too.
All
I
right,
look forward to your work as well. Just do the work. Everybody can do it their own way, and you're
yeah.
doing it in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could just stay on just really quick, I'm just going to get off. So thank you, everybody, so much for watching and take care.